Before our next speaker, I just want to say a couple things. And this is also for anyone in the media. Just remember, we're not Tea Party radicals. You know what we are right now? We are community organizers. So put that down in quotes. You've got community organizers out here organizing their community to send the community organizers back home where they belong. All right, before our next speaker, I want to take a minute here to honor our military. Woo! So, what I want to do is, if you're either in the military, whether it be active or Guard or Reserve, or you're a veteran, when I call out your the branches of the service, why don't you give a shout out, raise your hand. So first of all, how about the Coast Guard? Anyone? The Army? Yeah! All right? The Marine Corps? All right? The Navy? Yeah! And of course I save the best for the last, because I'm a veteran, the United States Air Force. All right, so how about a big round of applause for those who are currently serving and those who have served in the past. And unfortunately in Washington we have a whole lot of politicians who don't have what it takes to serve themselves, so they send people like us off to do their job for them, because if push comes to shove, they don't even want to touch a gun. That's a nasty thing, you know. They don't even know where the Second Amendment is. How could they have served in the military? Woo! But our next speaker is currently a commander in the United States Navy, as he says, the world's best Navy, an Iraq War veteran, founder of the Americans for Prosperity, and a co-founder of the North Dakota Taxpayer Association, and someone who has much in common with Jimmy Carter. He served on a nuclear submarine, and we won't hold that against him. Duane Sand. Woo!
You cut me deep. You cut me real deep. You all know I'm Navy. Did I hear we had Army and Air Force? I'm sorry? I said I'm sorry. Before I was asked to come and speak a little bit about the beginning of this movement starting in 2006, but one of the things I also do in my spare time, well, by the way, most importantly, a father and a husband, right? And when I got some spare time, I'm also the state commander for all the submarine veterans in North Dakota. And you all may have heard, but the first ever submarine named after North Dakota is going to be commissioned in 2013. So you all can pick up these USS North Dakota submarine ball caps at a table over there. The proceeds go to buying our oldest veterans first a plane ticket to Connecticut 2013, so I'd appreciate your support. The first thing I want to tell you about is I had the pleasure or displeasure last week of being on the Joel Heitkamp show, defending our values. And before I tell you what he tried to tell me, I told him that anytime I'm doing something like this with people like you, and Howard Dean calls it ludicrous, well then I know I'm doing the right thing. Yeah! But, you know, Joel said, we all are just a bunch of disenchanted Republicans, right? Right? No. I said, you're actually half right, Joel. We're disenchanted, all right. Most importantly, we are Americans who care more about our kids than politics. We are Americans who care more about our grandkids than politicians. We're Americans who've had it with people spending our money recklessly. Ladies and gentlemen, one thing I want to do today from the steps of the Capitol in Bismarck, North Dakota, and I want to hear it in the steps of the Capitol in Washington, D.C., stop reckless spending. You can say it with me. Stop reckless spending! Stop reckless spending! Stop reckless spending!
Stop.
Stop. That's the message that you all should be taking to your state legislators, your city councilmen, your everyone who's elected where you live at the state level, at the federal level. It's the message that we're going to take to Washington, D.C., because in 2 weeks our voices are going to be heard. Listen to this. Democracy, you all know it, I know it, is not a spectator sport, okay? We need to tell our friends, our business, folks that we do business with, our peers, the people at our church, at our schools, everything, that democracy is not a spectator sport. We're going to speak out in 2 weeks, and we are going to do what should have been done a long time ago. And that is what does Donald Trump say? You're fired. We're going to fire these people in Washington, D.C. These people in Washington, D.C. actually think they can spend us into prosperity. $13 trillion in debt, $1.3 trillion annual deficit, $800 billion failed government knows best spending program that doesn't work. All of this ridiculous spending has to stop. They're spending money recklessly, and we're going to fire them. Now, briefly, I came back from the Iraq War in 2006. I asked just 3 people in the state if we should start a statewide fiscal conservative movement. We already had Bob Harms working for C4RG here in Bismarck, starting a successful chapter. We had Rob Port and Minot doing his blog. We had Steve Cates with the Beacon. We had the North Dakota Policy Council starting shortly after. And we had groups in Valley City doing some things pretty successfully, but we hadn't all come together yet, and we still got to come together more. But those 3 people I asked were, and he's here, 2 of them are here, Bob Harms, who you heard from before, Rick Berg, who's in the back, everyone shake his hand before you leave here today, and then of course, Ed Schaefer. And Bob and Rick, sorry, but Ed was the most convincing and the most passionate. He said, let's get started right away. It's 2006. Remember 2006. The economy was booming in the state and in the country. People had money. In North Dakota, we had Republicans in charge of everything. There was no way we were going to overspend, right? Ed knew better. He said, we're going to have the possibility of spending too much money in the state legislature. So we went on a tour of North Dakota and we brought solutions, like Bob talked about. We brought solutions right up there in January of 2007, and we tried to get the legislators to spend responsibly, grow the state government, 3-4%, the rate of inflation, maybe a little more. Invest in North Dakota, but not grow government. And we won some things, but we mostly lost some things. There was 3 of us, and there were 300 special interest groups in this building every day for 4 months. And we ended up growing the size of state government 24% that year. Then we grew it 28% 2 years later. If we'd have had half of you here then, we could have won some more battles and lowered that spending. But we didn't win everything. And today, the state government, as you heard earlier, is twice as large as it was just 8 years ago. Things are still good in North Dakota. We got good people, but we have to get involved. And I'm asking you to share that message of stop reckless spending here in Bismarck, starting in January, to help keep the spending down, to lower the taxes, to give us more freedom, okay? It is very important for us. It's important for our children. It's important for our country, because let me tell you, take it from someone who's traveled the world in every direction to 42 different countries. America is the best country in the world. It's the best country the world has ever known. And no matter what the politicians think, it's going to stay the best country in the world with our help. So keep your voices heard. Thank you for being here, and thanks for giving me an opportunity to speak today.